I am so glad to see so many people bringing the politicians to account. They've lied, they've stolen, and they've defrauded everyone. And as we speak, the truckers' convoy of 2022, which is breaking world records by several degrees, is arriving in Ottawa. And it's of the utmost importance that anyone who holds a position in politics not be given any place to speak. Don't let them in front of your cameras. Don't let them in front of your microphones, and please do not let them take a stage. Do not recognize them. And if they approach you, turn your back. Even the ones who say they stand for freedom, they're lying. None of them stand for any goodness that you guys are fighting for. And I will show you court-ruled precedent today to prove it. But first, just take a look at what Trudeau and what Singh are saying. Trudeau said that you were a fringe minority, even though your numbers actually exceed the numbers of the military. He never really did like the military, did he? Singh, he renounced the entire movement. He hates everything and anything that even remotely looks like freedom, so it doesn't surprise me. But now, even the Conservatives, these guys had 2 years worth of opportunity to stand with leaders in fighting for freedom, in exposing the truth. And for 20 months, they have had access to the same information that we have. The same information that is now starting grand jury trials in international courts, setting precedent for every country. And they did nothing. Not only did they do nothing, they called us conspiracy theorists. They said that we were crazy for not following the science. They even threw their own members of parliament under the bus when they would practice what is Supreme Court ruled as an unalienable right, which is informed consent. In fact, the Supreme Court has even said that if something happens to you and your body against your own free will and informed consent, it's called assault. And the Conservative Party of Canada is guilty of using coercion and duress against their own party members. They don't care about freedom. And they certainly don't care about you. Yesterday morning, the Conservative Party leader, O'Toole, he said that truckers just need to be educated more so that they're not so vaccine hesitant. That'll solve the problem. Then, after getting destroyed on social media, he turned around, changed his tune, happy to meet with the truckers. Don't fall for it. Do not let them take a stage. It's a trap. They have no obligation whatsoever to represent you. And I'm hoping that you will recognize the evidence when you see it. And more importantly, that you'll recognize that we have something far more serious than vaccine mandates to deal with. As you can see on my screen, in the Court of Queen's Bench of Alberta Judicial District of Wetaskiwin, between the people and J. Wilton Littlechild, who was a member of Parliament. What had happened was that Mr. Littlechild did not represent the constituents of Wetaskiwin. In fact, Not only did he not represent them, he didn't even bother to check in with them on a very important matter. And so the people took him to court to hold him accountable, because that's where you go when you want to hold someone accountable. You want to make sure that the rule of law is applied to everyone in society. And so they did the right thing. But here's what the judge had to say. It appears that the action is a claim of a breach of duty on the part of the MP of the plaintiffs. Translation? He's saying it looks like this is where the constituents are saying to the MP, you have to answer to us. You represent us. And that's your duty. And you broke it. It seems clear on the authorities, and I note in Roman Corporation, which has been cited, so they were using this as precedent, that if I have any doubt on this application as to whether the plaintiffs have a cause of action, I must give the benefit of that doubt to the plaintiffs and refuse the application and leave the matter to be decided at a trial. Now, basically what he's saying there is, if I'm not really sure on whether or not this application has merit, if I'm not really sure, then I'm supposed to go ahead and let it go to a trial. That's if he believes the application has merit. And the very next word tells us that an application for the people to hold their member of parliament accountable does not have merit, because he says, however, I am satisfied the plaintiffs have no cause of action against the defendant. The judge is saying that he's convinced that the people have no cause of action against a member of parliament that does not represent them. He goes on to say, I know of no legal duty on an elected representative at any level of government to consult with his constituents or determine their views. That is absurd. The judge has said that he knows of absolutely no duty written in law that makes it where a member of parliament has to do anything to represent his constituents. Now, if that's not the worst, this is just you think your blood boils now. Wait till you see what happens throughout this whole ruling. Next, while such an obligation may generally be considered desirable, so basically, while it's a nice notion that a member of parliament should represent their constituents, he says there's no legal requirement. Folks, we do not have anything in place to hold our members of parliament, what did he say? At any level of government. So your premier, no obligation to represent you. Your prime minister, no obligation to represent you. Now, if that doesn't get you angry, maybe this part will. It is of the essence. He's referring back to that precedent, the Roman Corporation case. It is of the essence of our parliament system. It is of the essence of our parliament system of government that our elected representatives should be able to perform their duties courageously and resolutely in what they consider, not what you consider, no. They should be able to perform their duties courageously and resolutely in what they consider to be the best interests of, Canada. Not the people. You might be Canadians, but you are not Canada. And here's the worst of it. They should be able to perform those duties free from any worry of being called to account anywhere except in Parliament. He goes on to say, you have the right to vote in a future election. But what's the point, people? What's the point? You don't get, doesn't matter who puts their name on a ballot. There is nothing in place in Canada to hold them responsible for if they do not represent you. Furthermore, he says, no court can compel the defendant to account to his constituents. The gravity of this. No court can compel a member of Parliament to be responsible to his constituents, to represent them, to find out what they want, to hear their needs, and to bring them forward and represent them. There's no court that can make that happen. Under the circumstances, I am dismissing, or I am allowing the application to strike out the statement of claim, and it will be struck out. Folks, the way the law works in Canada is that precedent gets set in court of law. This judge set a precedent saying that no member of Parliament at any level of government ever needs to represent you. Their job, their duties are to act in the best interests that they believe are for Canada. And the only reason why they're flipping their narratives all of a sudden, the only reason they're behaving the way that they are, the only reason that they call you down, the only reason that they gaslight you is because they're acting in accordance with their duties. These elected representatives do not have any recourse if they do not represent you. Now, the weight of that needs to be held, and I encourage other people to spread the word. And don't just share this video. Say it in your own words to the people around you so that it becomes a part of your heart, soul, and mind. So that freedom is something that is deeper within you. Don't look to any leader to bring it to you. It's wrong. It's a trap. Because the moment that you pass up responsibility for your freedom over to someone else, you're also passing up governance over you to someone else. And you need to be self-governing. That's the highest calling that we can have in a civilized society, is that we self-govern. That we don't have someone capable of doing what they're doing to us. And they are very capable of doing it because there is no recourse if they do not represent you. Informed consent is so important. I get that. But do not go to Ottawa thinking that these people are going to represent you back. They clearly have displayed no desire to do so, and they, in the courts, are even backing them up. Because there is no legislation anywhere. There's no provision that has been created to hold them to account. So of course they're not going to. If they don't have to, why would they? That's how they think. You just take a look at how they've been behaving for the last 200 years. And to where now we are. We're even after what we had to go through in World War II. The idea of informed consent is still something we have to talk about? Yes. Why? Because it's not about the fact that it's Trudeau in that position. It's not about Premier Ford being in his position. It's not about Premier Kenny in Alberta being in their position. The fact is those positions are capable of doing what these people are doing. That's the problem. These people can go ahead and be bad all they want. The problem is there's a position where they can act out their hatred towards humanity, and they're doing it. Please, please, I implore you, do not allow any politician of any level of government to have anything to do with your freedom. And let this convoy be a message to not just Canadians, but to the rest of the world that we are free.